Recently, I've made two videos, one about Magic the Gathering and how I don't believe cards should ever be banned in it, and one about Dungeons and Dragons and Wizards of the Coast changing the lore about Dungeons and Dragons and how that doesn't really matter. And a lot of people seem to echo my thoughts on both those videos, but there was a substantial amount of you that didn't echo those thoughts and voiced them through Reddit comments or direct messages or comments on the YouTube videos. And for most of those comments, I had thanked them for showing me different aspects to the topics that I was talking about that I didn't really understand. I was content with just doing that and moving forward, but I felt it's probably best to make an actual video showcasing why I was wrong in my thinking and that I'm sorry that I made videos that I was not fully aware of in terms of the subject I was talking about. There are some individual comments that I do want to discuss, but in the broad scope of things, when it comes to the Magic the Gathering video, I didn't fully realize what I was talking about when I said I don't think any card should ever be banned from the game ever. I didn't understand what I was talking about. I had a very narrow mindset about that, and the same can be said for when I said I don't think it really matters that Wizards of the Coast is changing the lore around Dungeons and Dragons. When it comes to D&D lore and Wizards of the Coast changing it, I initially said it doesn't matter because the lore only matters to what the DM says is true and isn't true for that game. But I largely completely didn't think about the other aspects of Dungeons & Dragons outside of the core game itself, like novels or Adventure League. And there is a substantial amount of people who both run and play in Adventures League games, and I did not think about Adventures League whatsoever when I made that video. And likewise, this also implements Dungeons & Dragons novels and comics and anything else within the scope of Wizards of the Coast production around Dungeons & Dragons outside of the actual game itself. Video games, novels, stories, anything of the sort that is directly influenced by Wizards of the Coast has to follow these new rules and lore changes that they are making, which of course a lot of people don't like. And when it comes to Magic the Gathering and how I felt that no card in Magic's history should ever be banned regardless of the type of format that you're playing in, I largely didn't realize that these bans have to happen, and Wizards of the Coast never wants to ban cards because it just wrecks their own game and their own product. And really diving into why cards are banned after I'd made the video, I realized that a lot of the times when cards were banned, it was primarily the community that wanted the card banned, not Wizards of the Coast themselves. I was largely of the mindset that Wizards of the Coast was banning these cards because they didn't enjoy it, not that it was from the community and the players who were playing them voicing their concerns with these cards. And before we get into the comments that I want to discuss, one final thing I want to say is that when I'm coming up with a topic for a video or a discussion or an idea or a problem that I have with a certain aspect, I really don't talk to anybody else about it. I think about it myself and I just kind of go through the ideas in my own head, and I don't really have a group of people that I can bounce this topic off of. Now, granted, should I be doing that on Reddit before I make a video or looking at other YouTube videos about the topic beforehand? Yes, absolutely, and I will be doing that going forward. I still want to make topic videos like that discussing a large, impactful thing about game systems, whether that be Warhammer or Magic or anything else for that matter. I will absolutely be doing more research into the topic before coming to my own conclusions and making a video about it, and then realizing how woefully wrong I am on the subject afterwards. Starting with the comments on the Dungeons & Dragons video, a lot of them were about what I had said before, but a couple of them I do want to go through. Like this one from the Pixelfish. It matters because they are doing it specifically to pander rather than improve D&D. Sure, I can keep playing all the races whose lore they have decided to scrap as I normally would, but it is no longer something the creators support. I can no longer host a lore-friendly game playing these races and how they should have been played, so some higher-ups at Wizards of the Coast can get sympathy points from the civil rights movement. What hurts isn't the game is changing, it's that the people who run the game are actively backstabbing a majority of their consumers to appease a few bad eggs. As well as this comment by Reckless Fables. Meh, you can do it how you want could literally apply to any change. They could delete all the lore and you could make the same argument. The entire argument is disingenuous. Any official lore change will carry over to any new material, to any video game, to any novel, etc. And finally, this comment by Cowper Coles is a very long comment. I will leave the whole thing up on screen for you to read, but I'm only going to read out a couple of chunks here. Certainly, WotC has a right to change their IP, but there are some red flags here regarding IP censorship. I'm opposed to what they are doing, not because that I care that much about lore, I homebrew all the time, but because I'm morally and ethically opposed to censorship. When self-appointed sensitive readers start chirping away at the IP of a long-running media, be it TV, movies, books, or games, we need to ask why they are doing it. Why orcs? Why now after 90 years of them being in literature, where it's never been a problem before? A quick study of past censorship movements show that they are usually about thought control, and I feel we should consider protecting our hobby from censors or risk losing it. Now you could argue D&D is just a recipe book, so what's the big deal? The deal is there's an agenda behind the lore changes. The censors are inserting their ideological worldview into the game and hijacking it to use it as a vehicle to push that worldview onto the customers. The reasons orcs were deliberately chosen is because they're an iconic monster with lore dating back to The Hobbit from the 1930s. If you can get people to go along with the changing and iconic IP, then you've got foot in the door to do it again with another monster, and again and again. The more this is legitimized, the easier it becomes to hijack the game in its entirety. These were the larger and broader aspects about D&D and Wizards changing the D&D lore that I did not realize when I made that video, and I'm very glad that it was brought to my attention, because I don't think I would have ever otherwise thought about that until probably much, much later. So thank you guys very much for making me aware of this. Moving over to my video about why I don't think Magic cards should ever be banned, we're gonna go over to Reddit, where there was a couple of comments made on Reddit that I want to read here. The first one by Freicho. Probably said your name wrong, I'm sorry. Should cards be banned at all? Yes. Stupid question. Would you rather play standard with or without Oko? Remember Luris breaking vintage? Would you prefer it still was? Some cards are design mistakes. Nobody's questioning that. But when the card is out there, which makes the format better, banning it because it's warping the format or leaving it out of a weird moral aversion. There was also this comment by DM Me Cool Artworks. I think you're completely missing the point of bans. Cards aren't banned because they're too powerful. They get banned because they dominate too much a certain meta, making their deck become essentially the only viable one. Omnath, for example, was banned because it was more than 50% of the high-level standard meta. It was way out of league for other archetypes to even come close. And when a single deck takes over a format like that, the format stops being fun, both to play and to watch, and people stop playing it. Just wait until it goes away means waiting 2 years for standard and never for non-rotating formats. These both again echo aspects about cards being banned that I did not realize when I made this video. This final comment in regards to the Magic cards video is a very long one, and I will leave it here on screen for those who want to read the entire thing, but I'm going to go over a couple of points. Whenever you sit down to play a game with someone, just have the Rule Zero talk, boom, problem solved. Which is fine for casual play, but if you're participating in a tournament, you don't have that luxury. If you don't like a card, ask them to take it out. If they don't want to, the person is now forced to either take that card out of their deck or make a different deck that doesn't include that card. This is basically the same thing as a ban list accomplishes. Or if a card truly is that powerful and tons of people are playing it, just wait for it to die out. Or just ban it so it's never a problem ever again. This was another aspect I didn't realize when I made this video. Magic cards are planned 2 years in advance. So when a card comes out and it is immediately broken in standard, the idea that wait for it to phase out does not work, or wait for a card that can counter it to come into play, because Wizards will have to do that. A card that could do that, or any type of cards that could do that, may well not come out for another 2 years after Wizards would see that this is a problem. Banning it is a faster, easier solution. How awful does it feel right now when you buy a box of Zendikar Rising and 1 or 2 of your friends pulls an Omnath? Bad. But the key thing here is not the existence of the ban list, it's the lack of sufficient playtesting and development that takes place before the cards are released. That makes them too powerful in the first place. For years, we had barely anything end up on a ban list and everyone was happy. Then all of a sudden we had over 12 cards banned and had to emergency errata a mechanic because it warped every single format. That's not an issue with the existence of a ban list, that's an issue with a company not producing a balanced card game. This person has many more responses to many more of the things I said in the video, and if you are interested in reading all of them, the comment is still up on the video if you'd like to go see it, or you can pause the video and read the whole thing here. All in all, going forward, I do want to continue making these type of broader subject talks about aspects of games that I love. I enjoy making those types of videos. I think they're interesting to make, and I think the comments and the interesting discussions that come out of them are interesting to have. However, with these 2 videos, I was not anywhere near informed enough to make them because I did not understand the broad scope of the idea and the topic that I was talking about. Both videos are here if you'd like to go watch them for yourself. Thank you to everybody who commented on it, whether it was here on YouTube or on Reddit, and did not do it with a malicious intent, but actually did it in a way to make me see the broader picture. I appreciate that.